Let's face it, the last few years of Apple Watch updates have been, well, pretty iterative. I mean, we're literally using a chip that hasn't been updated in processing power since 2020, and we still have designs that, with the exception of the Apple Watch Ultra, kind of just look like tweaked versions of the initial design that Apple released all the way back in 2014. Last year's Apple Watch may have been the most iterative version ever, having the same design, the same chip, and the same feature set as the Series 7, with just like the one notable new feature being a body temperature sensor that really only half of the population could take advantage of. But this year looks like it's going to be a little bit different, and Apple may have something more radical than a typical Apple Watch release cycle. And that's not an Apple Watch Series 9, because Apple is skipping 9 altogether, just like Microsoft skipped Windows 9 and Apple skipped the iPhone 9. Why does everyone skip the number 9? Does anyone in the comments below know why they always skip the number 9? Like, what's wrong with the number 9? The number 9 never wronged me. It's never offended me. Anyway, numbers aside, that's not really the important part here. The important part is that Apple is gearing up for a really big year for the Apple Watch. But that may actually have nothing to do with new hardware, but more with the bigger change coming to the Apple Watch software this year, with one of the biggest changes ever, according to Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, saying it will sport a new user interface and that watchOS 10 will be a major update for the company. So now that we're in the midway cycle of the Apple Watch Ultra, the SE, and the Series 8, let's see what the future holds for this rumored Apple Watch Series 10, not 9. It's not 9. Maybe it'll be 9, who knows? All right, so let's talk hardware. Yeah, this is always a pretty tricky situation, as Apple has been actually pretty good at keeping Apple Watch hardware a secret right up until the event. And this year, they're doing like a really amazing job. Like, if you actually look up rumors and leaks regarding the new Apple Watches, you don't get much on this year, but we do have a few clues on ultimately where the Apple Watch lineup is headed, and I think that can give us a few clues on where the Apple Watch Series 10 will take us. I think the most obvious upgrade this year, and one that is long overdue, and one that Apple can easily check off a checkbox, is an upgrade to the chipset. Yeah, 3 years without any processing speed upgrades or increased efficiency gains is a lot of time, and after 3 years of development, Apple can make a lot of improvements to this chip. Now, yeah, I'm not saying that the current Apple Watch is like slow or anything, but they aren't as like dead responsive as my iPhone. Like, sometimes you still see that little loading circle pop up every once in a while. It's still there. And as, you know, until Apple can basically make the Apple Watch as instantaneous as my iPhone, I want them to keep going with these speed upgrades. More importantly, I want them to keep shrinking the process size down on these chips, making the chips even more efficient as time goes on, so that functions that used to be taxing on the processor for the Apple Watch start to feel like a breeze and consume even less power on the device, which obviously just leads to even more battery life. Furthermore, with the changes potentially coming to watchOS 10 and future software updates, you may need increased processing power on these chips to use some of those new features. Either way, with 3 years of no chip upgrades, this seems like the easiest thing to anticipate on a new Apple Watch. As for design, listen, we have been baited before with promises of a flat Apple Watch, and listen, I was fooled. You were fooled. Mostly I was fooled, thinking that we would get a flat-sided Apple Watch. Well, you know what, for this year, fool me once, shame on you. You can't fool me twice. So I'm not taking the bait this year either when it comes to a new design. I think the current design of the Series 8 is here to stay. However, that doesn't mean that Apple doesn't have a few tricks up their sleeves to make this watch more desirable, kind of with like a slight design thing. Now, the easiest thing that Apple could do is to probably introduce new color options for the aluminum Series 9 or the Series 10 model, as Apple did get rid of some really nice colors from the Series 7 lineup, especially that green color. I don't know why they got rid of that one. I really like that green color on the Series 7. And with the Series 8, we also saw the discontinuation of the Apple Watch Edition, which does make sense, right? The Series 7 edition was basically a Series 7 watch made from titanium. And now we got the Apple Watch Ultra, and that obviously uses the same titanium material for the body, has a newer design, better battery life, exclusive features at the same $800 price point. So Apple making a titanium edition doesn't make sense anymore with the Ultra on the market. However, that doesn't mean Apple should give up on the idea of an Apple Watch edition altogether. And I think this is a great opportunity for Apple to bring back the ceramic version of the Apple Watch Edition. Seriously, those white ceramic versions on the older Apple Watch still look fantastic. And if Apple was to release a new ceramic version this year, I think I would have a hard choice between that and the Apple Watch Ultra. It would be really hard. I don't know which watch I would end up getting because I regret not getting the white ceramic versions from previous years, and I really want one. Now, there are more exciting rumors with the hardware, but those are for later. Those are for 2024 versions of the Apple Watch, and especially the Apple Watch Ultra, which is rumored to be getting an even bigger 2.1-inch display. And on top of that, the display will be a micro LED display. Now, we've heard of Apple working on micro LED displays for a while now, but this would be the first product from Apple to use this technology, and it would offer a lot of similar benefits to an OLED display without the inherent downsides like screen burn-in. Of course, rumors about health sensors like the non-invasive blood glucose monitoring have been with us practically since the first Apple Watch, and that technology has been making breakthrough progress recently according to rumors. But even with all that progress, do not expect this technology to make its way onto the next Apple Watch or the next one, and probably not the next one after that. It is still several years away, according to Mark Gurman, and this does make sense, as even if Apple cracked this technology or is close to cracking it in the lab, it's going to take some time before that technology gets to a point where they can introduce it at a mass scale. It's probably very expensive stuff right now, and they're probably working on getting all that cost down. Even though Apple, they're definitely not ones to shy away from releasing an expensive product, but it's not like they're going to release like a $10,000 gold Apple Watch that's the same as the regular Apple. Oh, they did do that, didn't they? But yeah, I really wouldn't expect any new major health sensors this year because it just isn't in step with the Apple Watch release cadence. Usually year-over-year updates don't feature new health sensors, and we just got a new body temperature sensor on the Series 8. However, I do hope that either through watchOS 10 or maybe a tweaked version of that body temperature sensor, Apple will allow for direct readings of the Apple Watch body temperature reading, rather than having it only measure body temperature when you're wearing it to go to sleep. Speaking of watchOS 10, this is where we are going to see the biggest changes to the Apple Watch this year, and that is a good thing for anyone who just dropped $800 on an Apple Watch Ultra, because that means your watch is probably going to be getting all of the latest updates and new features without you having to pay a cent more. Now, the most interesting rumor about watchOS 10 to me is that Mark Gurman is saying that the user interface is going to be revamped. And I think this is kind of needed, right? Apple has had this whole honeycomb grid of icons on the Apple Watch since it's been released, and areas like the dock or notification center and control center, they could definitely use some reworking. Now, I think these concepts by Parker Ortolani are pretty neat. And they kind of visualize the possibilities of how Apple could go about revamping the Apple Watch's home screen. Like, yeah, with the display sizes getting so big now, it's possible, maybe you could add interactive widgets with more customization to the home screen, as well as an infinite list style of scrolling. I think that could work pretty well. And that would actually combine the two user interface options that Apple gives you right now, right? You have the grid view and the list view. So something like that concept actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe this is the direction that Apple's going in. Just, it's weird that Apple gives you a UI choice on the Apple Watch home screen anyway, right? They're you can use the grid view, you can use the list view. They probably will combine that into one sort of user interface and then get rid of both choices altogether. That is the Apple that I know and love. But what do you think? Do you think that a new interface for watchOS 10 is needed? And what sort of features do you think Apple could add to the Apple Watch to make it an even better product? Because honestly, I'm dumb. I'm out of ideas. I have no idea what they could do to make this thing better. I love my Apple Watch. It's one of my least problematic Apple devices. But what do you think about it? And also let me know, what do you think about the idea of an Apple Watch Series 10? Do you think Apple's going to skip the number 9? And do you think we are in for a bigger update than even the leaks and rumors are predicting? Really interested to see and hear all of your takes in the comments below. And hey, if you like this video, do me a favor, give me a like. If you want to see more, if you're new to the channel, you watched 10 minutes of this gobbledygook, just subscribe, okay? Just subscribe to me. We're so close to 300,000. And every time you don't subscribe, I'm just guess I'll wait another month maybe I'll get it. So just, do me a favor, just hit subscribe. And you don't even have to come back and watch the next video. I usually say, I'll see you in the next video. I don't even want to see you in the next video. If you didn't subscribe, I don't want to see you. I don't want to see your face. I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. I'm done with you, specifically, viewer, that made it this far into the video, that didn't subscribe. I'm done with your shenanigans. I'm not making videos for you anymore. You're blocked. You're done. You're not getting any more. It's over.